Hi, everyone, and welcome to Vikings Now. Tonight, the Vikings lose by just a point to the Broncos. Jim Rich along with Ahmad Hick, Pierre Noujaim. Gentlemen, they were right there. This is another one of those games where the Vikings beat themselves. They were not beaten by the Broncos, Ahmad.
No, they weren't beaten by the Broncos, and they weren't beaten by a lot of the teams that they have a loss on their record for earlier in the season. So just one of those games. But I think it all boiled down to, the Broncos being very disciplined in the rush game and making Josh Dobbs beat them from the pocket, because the last couple of weeks we've seen Josh Dobbs be successful extending plays. That's what we saw in the first half, but in the third and fourth quarter, he had to dice him up from inside the pocket, and that's where it all boils down to him knowing the playbook, him trusting his guys, and having that chemistry with them, which he didn't have in the second half. It's to be expected. Fairy tale is over right now. Got to get back to the drawing board and go back to work.
You saying it's a pumpkin now for him?
No, I'm not saying that, but a tough game, a good Denver Broncos defense. They've been playing really well the last 6 games, so it was a challenge the team needs right now. Go back, figure out what they did well, what they didn't do well, and correct it before next week.
All right, Pierre?
Shot themselves in the foot. It's been a consistent theme in the losses that this team has had this season, and we did the research, and in their 5 losses, they have a minus 11 turnover differential. That fumble by Alexander Mattison in the third quarter really feel like it kind of took the wind out of the sails a little bit. It looked like the Vikings had all the momentum and was really having their way in that game. I'm not saying that's the reason why they lost the game by any means, don't get me wrong, but it just came at an inopportune time when they were looking like they were driving to get more points. Josh Metellus drops an interception in the end zone that resulted in a Broncos field goal.
Yes.
The 6 penalties, 55 yards of penalties, that weird offensive pass interference call on KJ Osborne that set them back. So if I'm a Vikings fan after this game, I'm annoyed. I feel annoyed that the Vikings lost this game, because it was right there for the taking. It looked like they were in control for about 48 minutes of this game. But I'm not overly discouraged, because it just comes back to the simple things that you can correct. So even though today's game, it feels like it should have been a win for Minnesota, I still feel okay about this team moving forward. There wasn't anything about today's game that really rang any bells and whistles and alarms for me from watching what we saw, except, of course, for the turnovers, which, like we said, has been a consistent theme.
All right, did Kevin O'Connell outthink himself on that first possession, 3rd and 1? I mean, they've been able to run. Denver comes in with the worst rush defense. The Vikings all night were able to run the ball. This was by far their most productive night running the football. Yet you come up with a play where T.J. Hawkinson takes the handoff, pitches it to Dobbs, and you're already down to your, 4th quarterback here? Why put him in a situation like that where he nearly got his head taken off? I mean, it should have been a penalty for the hit. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it should have been a first down. Would have changed the dynamics
will
there.
Get suspended. He just came back from suspension, so Jackson will probably
Right.
get suspended. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean,
But Coach O'Connell,
where did that come from?
He was asked about this after the game, and he said it's one of those play calls where if it works, everybody's like, oh, that was a great play call. It was a great design. It just didn't work. He said at the end of the day, he liked the call. Would he do it over again? He said yes. He said they were taking advantage of Josh Dobbs' ability in that situation.
But he's not a running back. You don't want him to be the running back.
Oh, I'm not vouching for Kevin O'Connell. That's just what he said after the game. I would like to see something like that on the goal line when you know a team's going to be shelling out, sending everybody, and it's just like, oh, a perfect trick play because we think a quarterback sneak is coming. In that situation, I want to see Ty Chandler or Alexander Mattison carry the football, not Josh Dobbs. So bad turnover, definitely not the way you want to start the game. You just gave the Broncos all the momentum in the world just to start out the game. So, no, you don't want to see that play call early on. But Kevin O'Connell stood by it and said that, he thought it was a good call.
It's weird because you have a head coach who used to be a quarterback in the NFL, and you would think of all people that would not want to put their quarterback in a position to get hurt or possibly turn the ball over. In this instance, it would be a guy like Kevin O'Connell who knows the complexions of the quarterback position and the fact that, they're down multiple quarterbacks already. You don't want to be down another one, so I don't understand why you'd put your quarterback in harm's way. But yeah, I guess I can give him a pass, so to speak, in terms of the hey, we're just
Should've
trying to fool him.
passed
Well, or I mean, but that then again brings you back to the issue of you don't really have a running back that you can just turn around and hand the ball off to get you 1 yard. You don't, because that's. Tonight they ran the ball perhaps the best that they have all season long.
36 times for 175 yards.
And averaged nearly 5 yards a carry on the night. That's very good. That's a trend in the right direction for this team. My issue, I would say, is in the fourth quarter when right after the fake punt and on the drive downfield, they get inside. I want to say they got down to the 12 after a long pass to T.J. Hawkinson. They got a 1st and 10 from the 12. 1st and 10, they run it with Chandler. I think Chandler matched it, which okay, fine.
And then they did it
They
again.
ran it again.
They were like, it was almost like he was trying to burn clock.
Yeah,
he was trying to set himself up for the end of the game there.
The play calling in that instance, you go back in the fourth quarter, 1st and 10 from the 12, back-to-back runs for no gain. Now you set yourself up in a 3rd and 10. Denver, you allow Denver to come bring the house. They do, and you have to rush the throw. It falls incomplete. You settle for 3. Not that sequence there in the game really stands out to me because the imagination. I'm like, where did the imagination go in the play calling?
And he's done that earlier this year too, where he sat on the ball and they were able to survive it, but it was like,
It's
I
like
don't
what
know
he
if we
said
want to
last
take
week
the air out of
versus
it.
the Saints. You got to play aggressive at all times. You got to go play to win the game and not play to not lose the game. And I think that's just something that we've seen. But you also have to ask yourself, Josh Dobbs is getting the install for that week. That's only maybe like 100, 150 plays, and you're only calling maybe half of those in a game. So my thing is like maybe all those trick plays, all those little nuances that they went over during training camp, he wasn't around for that. And so it's kind of hard to say like, oh, well, you should be dialing it up because with Kirk Cousins, we always talked about how they always had a play call ready for any type of situation in the fourth quarter to bring this team back. Right now you're just seeing like Josh Dobbs has been thriving about life after the play, making something happen when the play breaks down and when the play call is not there. So into the situation, I mean, it's just we can nitpick all we want, but just last week we were calling Kevin O'Connell a genius,
Oh, I know, I know, but when you lose, though, what happens? The pitchforks come out.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter. What did you do for me this Sunday, not last Sunday?
I think when it all boils down to like we saw enough on tape to be like, all right, this is still a good football team. Josh Dobbs can still take us where we want to go. They still control their own destiny if they can, beat the Lions twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. You just got to get Justin Jefferson back for one. Maybe get T.J. Hawkinson a little healthy with the bye coming up. And I think this offense will still be able to compete with anybody with Jefferson back out there.
All right, you were out there this week. You saw Justin practice. You heard him at the podium talk about that I'm the guy that makes the decision. Ultimately, I'm the guy that's got to go out there. Is he setting up the Vikings here for a slow play on this?
Hamstrings are just a tricky injury, and for people that didn't play sports or suffer a hamstring injury, you just don't know how much that affects everything in your body. I'm talking about from your buttocks muscle down to your shin, to your calf, like your ankles. Like literally, it's tied to all of that. So when you're out for 4 weeks, you're not running, you're not sprinting. So when you get back doing what he's been doing the last couple of weeks at practice, you got to see if your body's able to like withstand all of that. Wake up the next morning and feel fresh, because as you all know, you can feel good with the hamstring injury for 5 weeks and then go out there and stretch wrong or just take off the wrong way,
right.
And it's a setback for 4 weeks. So I don't think he's like slow playing it. I think he's just, as he told media earlier this week, building up the endurance in his hamstring, making sure he's ready to go for a full 4 quarters, because he knows once he gets back, he's going to get thrown in the fire. He's going to get those double and triple teams. So you can't just gradually work yourself back in, So I think that's what they're doing at practice right now. It would be a shock to me if we see him play versus the Bears. I think there's an opportunity. I know he wants to play that game, but I don't think there's any risk. There's a lot of risk in playing him that game, so I don't think there's a lot of reward to play him versus the Bears. So I would think they'll opt for another 2 weeks of rest for him.
Pierre, if there was a big check sitting on the table for him, do you think he would be back?
Hard to say. I like Ahmad said, soft tissue injuries can be a finicky thing. Can be a real finicky thing. 1 week it feels good. It's starting to feel better. Then you have a setback. Yep. And then I think it wouldn't hurt. That's for sure. It wouldn't hurt. So yeah, Justin does have, and it's impossible for me to believe that in the back of his mind he's not thinking about his future to some degree. If he says he's not thinking about it, he's not even worried about it, I want to get back on the field as soon as I can. I'll be like, okay, that's good. You're saying the right thing. I get it. But listen, you could be potentially the NFL's first $200 million wide receiver. And I know you want to be paid like a $200 million wide receiver. So you're not going to go out there and risk any type of significant damage to yourself after coming off a hamstring injury. But
or put up inadequate numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling it, and
if he's only
you end up getting 3 catches for 40 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the way Jefferson plays.
If he's only playing at 70%, I would much rather see and hear from Justin Jefferson saying, "I was playing at 100%, not 80%." And by 100%, I mean as close as 100% as you can get by week 12 in an NFL season. It's nothing that's you're playing through pain. You're not playing hurt.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, to answer your question, Jim, yes, I think there would be a little extra motivation. But with the bye week coming up after the Monday night game next week against the Bears, there's an opportunity to extend that rest for him. So I think that's very likely what will happen.
I think this loss was a good thing, though. I'm not going to lie to you because, you got the Bears coming to town next week. And I think,
why would you not
say,
want
for instance, you win this game right. You got the Bears coming to town, Monday night game, one of those trap games where it's like, oh, we're going to beat them. We're going to ride off until we get to Cincinnati.
Vikings have done that numerous times.
And so I think this is one of those games where it's like, all right, a little slice of humble pie. You know what? We needed that. We needed to get chin checked, and we also need to look at the big picture. We got to pretty much win out, or we got to play perfect football down the stretch. So this is our wake-up call to say, hey, if we do this again 2 more times this season, we're not going to the playoffs. So I think a loss like this during this time of the season can always be very humbling. And the good teams always respond the right way. The bad teams just kind of let that loss set in, and then they just go downhill after that. So I can't wait to see how they respond. Big game coming up. Justin Fields looked pretty decent. Almost took down the Lions today. So this is going to be a big game for the Vikings on Monday night.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask you this numerous times throughout the rest of this podcast. So your answer today is not a final answer, but Joshua Dobbs. Which way are you on the needle for him to be the starter in 2024?
We're already doing this. We're already doing this.
Well, I mean, everybody is talking about this guy.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Minnesotans? Okay.
My fantasy group chat is asking about that.
Right. It's a huge decision for this franchise. You have to put thought in it. So give me thoughts then. Don't tell me yes, he will be, won't he. What has to happen for him to be that guy?
Well,
what does he have to show you in the last couple of weeks?
I have not looked at his contract. He's a free agent at the end of the year.
I believe so.
Is that correct? Yes, he's a free agent at the end of the year. Okay.
He barely has a job.
Yeah, okay. What's it going to take?
Yeah. Or what do you want to see? All right, let's put it this way. You are now Kwesi.
Okay.
What do I want to see out of Josh Dobbs that's going to convince me to say goodbye to Kirk Cousins and say, Josh, you're our new guy. Here's your big check.
Just consistency, not turning the ball over. And I think he's done that for the most part, except for today. There was the fumble. I think he was put in a bad position on the fumble, was hit as he threw on the interception. So just I want to see a quarterback that can make the plays on third down. Okay. Whether it's the back shoulder throw, whether it's, you read the situation like a la Russell Wilson, but maybe not this year or last year, but the Russell Wilson of old and that was one thing I saw from Josh Dobbs today. How many times did I see the pocket collapse on him? And I thought he's standing in the pocket getting ready to deliver, and I thought to myself, he's going to get crunched. I said he doesn't have any time left.
You told him to throw it away on the touchdown.
I told him to throw it away on the touchdown. But the number of times Josh Dobbs waited till the last possible second to stand and deliver and make a throw in the pocket today, I was awfully impressed by. Because I thought he was going to take a sack nearly half the time he dropped back today, and that did not happen. So, just consistency. However, I will say this: if the Vikings decide not to bring back Kirk Cousins next year, in my opinion, unless he absolutely blows the doors off the rest of the way, Josh Dobbs cannot. If the Vikings re-sign Josh Dobbs cannot be given the green light to own the number one quarterback, the number one role going into next year. There has to be competition at the position if Josh Dobbs is brought back, and because I'm unless you have the elites of the elites at the quarterback position. We talk all the time in training camp about competition at every position, and I'm getting annoyed when people just casually leave out the quarterback position. Why is it any different? If you don't have Aaron Rodgers or the Tom Brady's of the world, if he ever comes back, and all the elite quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, if you don't have one of those guys, there should not be any reason why you don't have competition at the quarterback position. And while Josh Dobbs perhaps could earn that number one role by the end of the year, depending on how he plays, I still believe there has to be competition at the quarterback position going into 2024.
I love Pierre's answer, and honestly, I'm right there with him. I think it's too early to talk about next season, but
of course it is.
If I want to,
but this is podcast. This is speculation. This is awesome.
You're right. If I'm Kwesi, what I want to see from Josh Dobbs is consistency, but I also want to see how he plays with a superstar wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, one of the game's best tight ends in TJ Hawkinson, and an explosive back in Ty Chandler. I want to see how he plays with weapons around him. He's never had this many weapons around him. We asked him earlier in the week, about this. I did.
You saw him too.
Yeah.
Gritting, just when you guys are asking about, what, do you let yourself think about basically what the paraphrasing the question? What it'd be like to have Justin? And he's like, well, we got the other great guys, but if I saw that guy out there.
So I think he's just chomping at the bit to get Justin Jefferson out there. A guy who, it's man coverage, he's going to win. Zone coverage, he's going to find the soft spot. So I want to see how he plays with him. I think if he plays well with him, if he can get that rapport down with Jefferson and continue it with TJ Hawkinson, I'm a firm believer. It's like, all right, well, forget spending $30+ million on the quarterback next year. Let me go out and go see if we can bring back Danielle Hunter. Let's see if we can go get a lockdown corner on the opposite side of Byron Murphy, or somebody to help out a Caleb Evans, or just that secondary in general. It's so many other holes on this team that they have to fill before you go out and go spend $30 million on a quarterback.
It's going to be more than 30.
I think it's a blessing in disguise, though, right now with Josh Dobbs, because it's giving Kwesi and Kevin an idea of what the future can look like without Kirk. Because had he played the rest of the season, say, for instance, they make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs, or fall short in the playoffs, then you head into the offseason with that speculation. Well, what is life going to look like without Kirk? Now we know. So now you just have to see how Dobbs plays.
He's ready. He's got something. He's loaded up.
It just it's hilarious when I think about it in my head, because before Kirk Cousins got hurt, he was on his way to an all-pro type season. And you're still faced with the decision. Let's say Kirk Cousins plays out the rest of the season and still played at that high level. The decision for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah would cause, I would imagine, it would cause him to lose hours upon hours of sleep, because when you look at the performance and you look at the numbers and you think to yourself, how can I not bring this guy back with this kind of performance? A lot of people would think he was crazy, but with the way is Josh Dobbs a $30 million quarterback?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So,
but Justin Jefferson can make him look like one. You never know.
He could, and as much as I'm against paying a wide receiver, any wide receiver, $200 million, there's a little bit of context to that. With if Kirk Cousins is on the way out and Josh Dobbs, suddenly you found a diamond in the rough that is trajecting upward in terms of his talent and potential, and you don't have to spend as much money on a quarterback, that you can keep Justin Jefferson here at a high price. Maybe it is $200 million. I don't know what it would be. I feel like that's a little bit more justifiable. But I still have my own personal questions as to, can Josh Dobbs emulate the production and the numbers that we saw Kirk Cousins did in the first 6-7 weeks?
I think it's hard for any quarterback to do that. Kirk Cousins was playing out.
So why wouldn't you bring him back?
I think just the future. You have to look at the big picture. He'll be 36 years old.
He's
next
still
year.
got a few good years of football left. I think
absolutely does. But I think it goes back to what we've been saying the last however many years he's been here in Minnesota. Everything has to be perfect around Kirk Cousins, and if he's going to get $30+ million, you're not going to shore up this defense the way you need to in order to make this a Super Bowl caliber winning team. Look, I told this to somebody the other day. The worst thing that could have happened to Kirk Cousins is the backups coming in and having success. I mean, Jaren Hall was looking like he only played 2 drives, but that second drive,
he looked good.
Yeah, he was commanding the offense on that second drive. So the last thing you want to do, look, as a competitor, you never want to see your backup come in and just shine, all right? It makes you feel some type of way.
Tell me about it.
You know you're expendable and things like that.
Tell me about it.
But I think for Kirk Cousins, for him, he's just watching Josh Dobbs and he's like, all right, look, the writing's on the wall right now. Like,
Tell me about it.
this
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs, I mean, he's just looking like, all right, if he takes his team to the playoffs, and God forbid he wins a playoff game as a starting quarterback.
Experience is everything. I think you go with the old guy.
I just think that Kirk, the leverage that he had is slowly slipping away the better that Josh Dobbs plays.
I know.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. Slippery slope for Kirk Cousins right now.
Here's what I want to see out of Dobbs. I want to see long throw accuracy, because that's what you're going to need with Jefferson. We know he can extend plays. We've seen his athleticism, but that arm, I'm still not sold on it. I think if I was Kwesi, that would be the thing I really wanted to see down the stretch, is him making those throws, like you were talking about, Pierre, the back shoulder throw, the throw that's between two defenders, the one that gets your guy right behind the defender and spins him away from a hit. Those are the kind of throws that I don't think Dobbs has made to this point in his career, and we'll see.
Kind of hard to make those throws when you don't have chemistry with
when
your
there's
guys.
or when there's nobody there to go catch it, right? You can throw the ball to a spot, but if your guy broke it off or went somewhere else, but that I think is something that, because all these other teams said goodbye to him, right? All these teams didn't even see enough in the raw materials there to say, you know what, we should keep this a guy. Let's just keep this in our back pocket. Let's see if this works out. Right. Instead, they're like, nah, cut him. That's fine.
Well, I know right now he's played well enough to ensure that he'll get a multi-million-dollar contract wherever he signs as a backup next year or as a potential starting quarterback. He just went from signing veteran minimum contracts of $1 and $2 million to he'll probably get a multi-million-dollar deal. We're talking Chase Daniel type money, I'm sure, coming up for Dobbs now.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, we'll wrap this up with the Bears. This is one I want to get to. The defense, how well they played without Hicks. That was stunning how well that unit played. I mean, to the ball, to the guy who had the, where the play was going. Nobody seemed to be out of whack, out of position. And that kind of just got glossed over by everybody, that Ivan Pace Jr. just goes, oh, okay, now I'll do this.
Held the Broncos to 2 for 12 on third down.
Yes.
Man,
Vikings never do that.
It's just Brian Flores. Doesn't play a lot of man with the defense that he has, and that says a lot about the talent that he has. But that zone coverage, confusing these quarterbacks, just putting a lot of people at the line of scrimmage, making them decipher who's coming. It's just a lot to process within 15 seconds, and then you got to go out there and just process it all even faster once you snap the ball. So hats off to him. He's doing an incredible job with the little resources that he has on that defense. Danielle Hunter, DJ Wanham, playing out of this world. They gave the offense a chance to win the game, and that's all you can ask for your defense.
All right, Pierre, Bears, what has to happen? What is the critical thing for the Vikings to accomplish in that game?
Well, don't turn the ball over for starters. That'd be a really good start.
That works.
But I think Ahmad touched on it earlier a little bit. I think it's great that the Bears gave Detroit a wake-up call today, because when the coaching staff is going to put that tape on, they're going to see a team that has absolutely not quit on the season. They can come into your house and beat you if you're not careful, and Detroit almost found out today. So don't turn the ball over for starters. And I want to see that run game continue to take another step in the right direction. Like we said, almost 5 yards a carry as a team today. We have not said that very often so far this season. Your ability to run the ball opens up the play action. Dobbs also has the dual threat ability. So Chicago, like I said, even though they haven't quit on the season by any means.
Is threat ability a word? Could someone Google it?
Did I say threat ability?
Threat ability.
Threat ability?
Dobbs.
Dual threat ability?
Dual threat ability.
Maybe I just said it too fast and molded it into one word. But that's what I want to see. No turnovers, and I want to see running the football with efficiency. Again, like we saw today. I mean, Ty Chandler turned some heads today. 10 carries, 73 yards, was good in the passing game as well. Earned his spot out there today. So that's just what I want to see. Just mistake-free football.
All right.
It's as simple as that.
It's not a word, but it's Pierre's word.
That's right.
So I'm riding with
Copyright it now. That's right. For all you watching, it's mine.
Shirts are online. You can follow go through Pierre's social channels. He's got them.
Let me tell you
all set
something.
there.
I don't do anything for free, and if I find any of you taking this away from me, you will be sued to the nth degree. I'm all about money all the time.
All right. Where can people find the podcast besides the way they found it this time, stumbling across it? How can they make sure they never miss a Vikings Now, Ahmad?
Subscribe to Fox 9 YouTube channel. We'll be on there every week. The podcast gets uploaded, or you can just turn your notifications on for Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for us. Unfortunately, although Ahmad feels it's a good thing the Vikings lost, you can send your text to him or direct messages, right? Those are fun things, too, people like nowadays.
I engage back.
Annoyed, but not discouraged.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about
You
today.
got to feel good.
Yeah.
All right. Vikings fall by 1. Let's feel good about it. They'll be back at it next Monday night, and we will talk to you then. And don't forget to check out our newscasts everywhere we are, because we are everywhere. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, yeah, all day. Can't forget that tomorrow, 3:30 on your connected TV.
There you go.
There, Mr. Ravlin's happy now. Okay, that's enough for us. We've filled enough of the internet. Goodbye.